meeting of March 30th, 2021. And can we have the statement concerning notice of meeting to begin?
Yes. Notice of this meeting was provided in accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meeting Act and state regulations governing remote public meetings, including the time, date, and location of the meeting, and clear and concise instructions to the public for accessing the meeting and making comments. In addition, the agenda and all related materials were posted electronically and made available to the public on Princeton's meeting portal in advance of the meeting.
Thank you.
Call the roll call.
Sure, thank you.
Ms. Perron-Lambros.
Here.
Ms. Niedergang.
Here.
Mr. Cohen.
Here.
Ms. Fraga is absent. Mr. Williamson.
Here.
Ms. Sachs. Mayor Frida.
Here. Okay, so we are going to suspend this for temporarily, and we're all going to jump onto another link that Mark is going to magically post here for people that tune in a few minutes late. And we are going to go to the farewell to Mark Zoom link now. So see you all in a little bit.
Everyone, you should go to that second link for the fair. Mia?
Mark, I need the other link.
Sorry?
I need the other link. I have the wrong link.
All right. I will
Sorry.
copy and send the link to you guys.
Thank you, sorry.
So we're joining the community, the general community link now?
Correct.
Okay.
So that Mark, can I do that? Let me see.
You should be able to record.
We'll do that. Recording it to the cloud. It's starting now. So what I will do, Mark will take the, Mark Frida will take the lead in welcoming everyone. But once we get started, I think I'm going to call 2 to 3 names at a time so that individuals will know, that they'll be up next if they wish to say a few words. And then for those who are not on my list already, who haven't already let me know that they wish to speak, if you want to, if you can in the chat function, write it in there, and that way I will know in order of folks who wrote in. I will call on you. If I don't already haven't already reached out to me to let me know you wish to speak. But I'll turn it over to you, Mark Frida. Mayor.
Thank you, Leticia. Appreciate that. First of all, welcome everyone. Mark, on behalf of the state, for your time with the town, for all your efforts, and thank you for letting us be part of a celebration of what you've done and a recognition of all your effort over the years by joining you tonight with this group. So I'm going to keep it short and sweet so you can hear from people that have worked for you much longer than I worked with you for much longer than I did.
Thank you, Mayor Frida. And next I will call Mayor Lempert and Lance Liverman to go after Liz.
First of all, I just want to say it's nice to see everyone's faces. I miss you all.
Oh.
Liz.
Miss you too, Liz.
Hi, Mark. I have to say that it's pretty nice on the other side. So first of all, congratulations. And just thank you for helping guide the municipality through some challenging years, especially this last one with COVID. And I always appreciated how calm you were under pressure, which was especially important quality when we were going through the pandemic. And just always appreciated how caring you were, how upbeat you were. You pulled me out of quite a few emotional ditches over the years, which I really appreciate. And really led by treating everybody with respect. And I think part of your legacy will be really having helped the municipality through the efforts to foster inclusion. So thank you for that and for all of your efforts. And town's going to miss you.
Thank you. And Lance?
Okay, I did write down something, not 7 pages, but I did write down something. I'll read it just so we can breeze through. Let me say, during these trying times, when news is all around us, sad news all around us, it's good to pause and take time to say a few kind words about a good man. A person once said that give flowers while
Good evening, Chris. Thanks for joining us.
Good to see you, Eve. Glad to be here.
Wherever here is.
Pardon?
Wherever
Wherever
here
here
is.
No. I hope we will once again soon be in a position where we can meet in person. It's better.
I look forward to that. Yeah.
Good evening, Chris. How are you?
Doing well. It's good to see you, Dwayne.
Yep. Good to be here.
We lost Mia.
Lost in cyberspace?
Leticia, thank you for organizing that. It was wonderful.
Oh,
Did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you. No,
That was a great job.
It was a collaborative effort, and really, I think everybody's remarks were perfect, including from the community.
Yeah, it's great. Thank you.
Okay, I think we have everybody. So let's just, before we start with the presentation from the university, I just think publicly for this meeting, we should make, under announcements, I just want to make sure we acknowledge that today, was the funeral of former Township Mayor Phyllis Marchand. And I know the family appreciated the help from the town, from the police department, and of course, the number of elected officials from Princeton and the county and the state level that were able to show up, and all the residents that were out there today. So anyway, I just want to make sure we acknowledge that, and just out of respect to Phyllis, say hello. And if we could just let's have a brief moment of silence in her memory and in honor of her, please. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. One other item of business, just to make sure that we have a resolution that was added to the agenda, resolution 21-126, which will be discussed after we have the discussion with Chris. So if there's nothing else any council member needs to bring up, we could. Chris, thank you for waiting, and welcome again to what has become a yearly event to have the university president here with the mayor and council. It's a good tradition. Goes a long way to the relationship between the two bodies. So we appreciate it. So welcome, and the floor is yours.
Well, Mark, let me start off by expressing my appreciation, first of all, to the council for having me again, especially under these unusual circumstances. As you say, it really is a good tradition to have this conversation, and I'm glad we're making the effort to continue it. I also want to join you before making any other remarks in expressing condolences to Phyllis Marchand's family. She was not only a distinguished mayor for this town, but a friend of the university, and someone that my wife Lori and I had a chance to get to know personally. So I'm glad you took the moment there to recognize and honor her. I also want, I know you've been thanking Mark Dashield, and I want to offer my thanks to him as well on behalf of the university. We appreciate the opportunity to have worked with you over the past several years, and it's good to be able to welcome back Bob Bushai, an old friend. So with those initial remarks, Mark, let me just say, I have felt throughout my time as president of the university that it has been very important to keep channels of communication very open between the town and the university. And if that's true in general, I think it's been more true than ever over the past year, as we've dealt with a set of unprecedented crises that have tested both town and university, and I think created challenging leadership decisions for all of us. I am very grateful, as are my colleagues at the university, for the partnership that this council has provided and the town has provided. I do want to take a moment to express special gratitude to Jeff Grosser for the outstanding work he's done on behalf of our town. And we are very appreciative at the university for our ability to work with him, and the diligence and good judgment he's shown throughout that process. As I think we were in touch with Jeff Grosser, as well as with other public health authorities, as we were making our decisions, both about the fall term in 2020, when we eventually decided that we were, with great regret, unable to invite most of our undergraduate students back to the campus. And then in preparation for our decisions for the current term, where we invited our students, both undergraduate and graduate, back to the campus, where we now have 2,900 undergraduates living on the campus, and around 700 additional ones living in the surrounding area. The advice we received from public health authorities was important to the decision-making that we did. I have to say, first of all, in general, I'm very proud of the way our students have thus far conducted themselves. I know that you receive updates on a regular basis about our positivity rates. They have fortunately thus far been very low, and we know the number one variable involved in that, whether you're talking about a student population or any other population, is the willingness of individuals to conduct themselves in accordance with these demanding and tiring public health guidelines that we are all living with these days. So I'm appreciative to my students for what they've done there, for the low rates that we have been able to achieve thus far during the spring term. And I have to say, I'm glad we've been able to bring them back into these, even under these very constrained circumstances where most of their classes are online. I myself am actually walking into the classroom twice a week with students. I'm teaching in person with 12 freshman undergraduates in a classroom that normally holds 65 students, but under state law, 12 is the maximum we can get in there. But what it does do is enable me to see firsthand the benefits of residential education and to talk to our students in an informal setting about what that means to them. And again, I want to express my appreciation here to the town working with us as we developed a plan to get those students back on campus, because for those who are able to come and comfortable coming, it is important to have that education taking place amidst one another, amidst the facilities that we have, and where possible, and it's relatively rare right now on our campus with in-person teaching. The vaccines obviously have given us all a hope. I will say we stand ready if the county and the state call upon us to run clinics through Jadwin Gymnasium, as I hope it will be possible if the vaccine expands. Those vaccinations have us right now at the university leaning in as a goal to the process of returning to a full residential program. Ideally, we're going to privilege teaching and research, of course, ideally with in-person teaching, with our in-person research taking place, I hope, with a full range of extracurricular activities. I don't know what that's going to look like. It is entirely possible that just as in my classroom right now, everybody is masked. We've all learned how to communicate with one another through those masks, and to do our best for facial expressions with the eyes and what the masks don't cover. But maybe we all have to be masked. Maybe we're still testing everybody. Right now we're testing every undergraduate, every graduate student on the campus twice a week, every faculty and staff member once a week. Maybe we're still testing, but I want to be leaning in, because I think in this sphere of what we do, as in so many other aspects of this vibrant community, being able to actually be together in person makes a difference. So that's our goal. We're going to continue, obviously, to work with public health authorities. We're going to continue to respect their advice, but we're trying to ask how we can do this and do it safely, and make that the goal that we're pursuing. So I think I will stop there and just ask again whether there are questions that I can respond to, but just say one more time how grateful I am for this partnership that I think this wonderful town and our university have together, and to each of you personally for what you do to keep this town wonderful as a citizen. I'll say that, and as a great partner to the university, and I appreciate the chance to talk.
Chris, thank you very much. And I do just want to say publicly, and thank Kristen for all her help in our discussions we've been having with both the county and the state to try to make a vaccine site happen at Jadwin Gym. And I know we're all soliciting help from various other places to make sure that they make the right decision there. But it's an extremely generous offer, and I know it comes at a significant expense to the university to provide that. So, that just can't go without acknowledgement. It's a tremendous thing to do for the community. And thank you to the university for everything you've done over the last year, helping to support local businesses, grants, and things like that. those are immeasurable efforts that, you know, just it's a long-term investment in the community, and it means so much to so many. So
I appreciate that.
I just wanted to thank you on both those counts. And council members, please just raise a hand and we'll, Leticia?
Yes, thank you. President Gruber, I actually don't have questions. This is, you know, though later I'm probably going to think, oh, I wish I had asked this. But this actually marks the 4th time since I joined council that I have enjoyed the opportunity to meet with you in this format. And what I appreciate most about this format and this opportunity to meet once a year is the opportunity to publicly thank you for, thank the university for your continued support and assistance, financial assistance that benefits our community, especially recently during the pandemic when, thanks to the university and other community partners who made it possible for us to provide assistance, including rental assistance, assistance with utilities to our most vulnerable residents who really truly provided a lifeline for them, including there were those who were in dire needs, who some of them did not qualify for unemployment or for the stimulus checks that some received. So having this partnership really provided a lifeline for many in our community. And what the pandemic demonstrated is that we are, as a community, able to quickly organize and work together to address the needs of our community. And what I would like to see, or continue to see, is for a continued partnership so that we can address the needs of our community, but not just during a time of crisis. You know, to when we've identified needs, and especially if there's instances where we might be able to share services or you know, always financial assistance is good. That's always welcome. But you know, anything that we can do to work together, not just to address the needs of our community, but I know the work that we do on council that to whether it's economic development or other areas that also provide enriching opportunities for the students to experience our community. But again, not a question, but a thank you.
Well, I appreciate the thanks, Leticia, and I appreciate your insight that we should look for ways to build on what necessity has required and to seize opportunities for further cooperation as we go forward. You know, I think one of the things that I have noticed and noticed with delight is that part of what our students value about the university is also their interactions with the town and with some of the merchants around the university. I know that the student government arranged for Taste of Princeton packages when students were at home from local shops and vendors. And right now the Tigers in Town program is off to a good start in a way that illustrates these synergies. And as I've listened to the students talk, I've heard from them the same sorts of themes that you're describing. So from my standpoint, that what that means is that we should continue this pragmatic spirit. And when there are particular ideas or needs, we should figure out whether there are ways that we can make them work. And I know that it won't always be the case that we can get to yes, but I also appreciate the pragmatic way in which this council has approached that, in which the town approaches it. And let's see whether or not we can find things that work together. So thank you.
Thank you.
Other council, David.
Yeah, I think this evening may be turning into just a bit of a love fest because I also have thanks and praise rather than questions. I want to express special appreciation for the collaboration with the university on a couple of initiatives that came out of two of my boards and commissions, one being the bicycle parking ordinance, which we brought forward and just got amazing support from your transportation group and from Kristen as the liaison to the community to really make it even better than what we had introduced. And I just, so much appreciate the forward-thinking environmental perspective that the university brings to pretty much everything that you're doing. And indeed, the other initiative, which is still underway, is the Redevelopment Stormwater Ordinance, which is aimed at doing a better job of managing stormwater, especially in areas that are already developed. And as I say, we're still in the process of working on it, but your facilities department and your consulting engineers have been extremely receptive and helpful in trying to, again, make it as good an ordinance as we can. So I want to express my personal thanks for the assistance and cooperation from the university on those two initiatives.
Well, let me just make it mutual, David, and thank you and the council and the town for your leadership on those priorities as well. As you rightly said, both of those things are very important to the university. We think that being a responsible environmental citizen in general is an important part of our mission, an important part of what we do as an educational institution. Both bicycling and stormwater management are things that we recognize as priorities in that regard. And anything we can do, I know it's hard, and this, given the age of the roads and so on that we deal with in the density, but if we can make this town more bicycle friendly, we're happy to be supportive and engaged.
Wonderful.
Michelle.
Thank you. I'm going to follow on the common theme of thanking you, the university. Chris, it's great to have you here. And I want to acknowledge the Princeton Small Business Resiliency Fund. We worked closely, and I have to acknowledge Kristen Applegate's, her leadership, her hard work on that. She really got into the weeds on working on making that, putting it together. And, there were over 90 grants given for COVID related. One second, I have noise in the background. Of course, I just came home, sorry, teenagers. So to continue on the theme, the Recovery Resiliency Fund helped those 90 some businesses, and unfortunately, we didn't save them all, but it was really just a huge impact. And what I want to talk a little bit about is what else we can do now. I mean, the recovery effort now is really important. You can go down Nassau Street, Witherspoon Street, and you see there are vacancies, and the vacancies are continuing to grow. So for all of our sakes, it's so important to have the conveniences, the attractions, the retail and restaurant. And, you mentioned Tigers for Nassau. What a wonderful group of students who reached out and selflessly helped businesses create web-based solutions, contactless payments. I mean, they did a lot of great work. So it's not always the financial, which of course is important, but it's also the resources and the rich resources that the university has to offer. So I do kind of have a question, but I first want to also mention that, and again, I want to acknowledge Kristen because she is so hardworking and such a leader, and she's been appointed to our steering committee for economic revitalization. And so together, the business community has organized themselves, the municipality is funding and supporting it, and we're putting some ideas together, and it's really important that we have this joint relationship. But I want to ask too, what sorts of ideas or other things may you be able to give us tonight? Any insights or ideas on how we can, not just financial, but what resources are available and how we can tap into that? And as Leticia, my colleague, mentioned earlier tonight, it's so important that we look to what we did is incredible, but how do we look now to do this not only when we're in an emergency situation, but looking forward to the future? Thank you.
So Michelle, I very much appreciate the comments and the question, and I want to sort of second, first of all, your praise for Kristen Applegate, who just does so much to improve the level of communication between town and university. As you say, she gets into the details, understands what will make a difference for the better. And I think that's one of the principal reasons why we've been able to have such a strong partnership during this very demanding time. I think, continuing that theme, I'm not the right person to be generating the ideas about what will work best. I really think that depends upon being down in those details in the way that you just described. As I said in my answer to your colleague Letitia earlier, I think that the most important thing is to understand, first of all, inspirations that may be happening, that is ideas, places where you or others in the community see a potential fit that would make a difference, and then also understanding what the needs are. That was maybe we don't have an inspiration for what the idea is, for what the solution is, but maybe we can identify needs. And then when you mentioned Tigers for Nassau, the students are sometimes very creative about coming up with what I would call solutions, and they would call hacks, that ways of getting at the problem that are creative. And I think we can have the conversation at that point. So rather than trying to sort of just sketch things or come up with things off the cuff, what I would say is that what we have done well during this period, and I think that's we collectively, the town, the organizations within the town, the university, our students, is to, despite all of the barriers to communication that force us to do things like meeting in this two-dimensional way rather than, in a fully human gathering, we've managed to talk to one another about, here's something we could do, would this work as a possibility, or here's a need we have, how can we address it? And I think if we can keep those conversations going, I'm pretty confident that people who are closer to the ground will come up with better solutions than I could imagine. So I'm sorry that I can't come up with something ingenious to offer in the course of the meeting, but I think that that's the right way to proceed. And like you, I think this is a set of successes on which we should build for the future.
Great. That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Eve.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris. And again, I think to echo what my colleagues have said, what you've said, this has been a really challenging year. And I think we cannot stress enough how much we appreciate the university's role, both in terms of helping out with personnel and helping out with finances for the Resiliency Fund for businesses, and for helping people in the community that really needed help. So a big thank you for that. And so I'm interested in moving forward on that in a couple of ways. So I think David mentioned how innovative you're able to be on environmental policy. And of course, the environment, we are all occupying the same environment. And so one of the things that comes to mind for me that I think that I would hope that we could partner with is transportation. I know that you're doing a lot of work on that, and trying to move cars off campus and encourage people to use other methods of getting here and getting around. And I would love to see some of the system that the university develops extended further out into the town, because I think that is an area where it can be so mutually beneficial. I think we're a little too small to have the kind of system we would like to be to really reduce car traffic. But I think if we could reduce that, that would work to the benefit of the university and the municipality. So I know there's been some contact between, with people in your transportation department, but I'd love to see some attention, paid to that to help develop a real transportation system in town, so that students could get to the shopping center and people could get from the shopping center to town, and also to support our affordable housing developments that are more dependent on public transport. And I think that would be, a mutual benefit. And then I told Kristen I wasn't going to talk about this. I had a question for her earlier today, but she will be joining our cannabis task force. And one of the things that Michelle and Leticia and I discovered as we were going through the applications is that, you know, in large part due to the university's presence here, we have this incredibly talented group of people to choose from. And at one point going through the applications, I actually kind of rolled my eyes and said, another neuroscientist. And then I sort of heard myself and I had to stop. And it's not only people who are at the university, although we have taken a few of those, borrowed a few of those, in addition to Kristen to serve with us, but the fact that the university attracts the kind of people to this town who want to be here in this type of community. So anyway, that's sort of an aside. But the other kind of question or issue I wanted to bring up is that I feel like the university is kind of expanding beyond Princeton in some ways, and there are good reasons to that. I know, you know, you're building a lot in West Windsor, but I guess I want to make a plea for when a new innovative project comes up, that we try really hard to keep those projects based in Princeton, because we would love to partner with you on those. And I think, you know, in the past, there's been, you know, it hasn't always been a smooth relationship. But I feel like this council, you know, this mayor, this group is really anxious to work with you and move forward. And I speak clearly, you could hear what everyone was saying. We all see this as a collaboration. So I hope that we can move forward on innovative projects that you have in mind, and that those will, you know, be cited here in Princeton rather than in those other surrounding towns. So.
Well, Eva, I appreciate the comments, and I appreciate the thanks with which you began. I feel I should mention here a few other. While it's very nice to receive the thank yous, I'm profoundly conscious how many different people at the university were leaders in making sure that we were attending in the right way to the town. And for example, Brent Colburn, our Vice President for Communications and Public Affairs, is listening in on the call right now, and people like Debbie Prentice, our extraordinary provost, very attentive to the needs for the kinds of small business funds that you were describing, even at a time when we were looking at an economy and pressures on the university's own budget. Executive Vice President Trebby Williams, who has been very important to many of the conversations with the town. I'll just say, I think for all of us, part of what we recognize is not just as a university, but as citizens of this town, how important it is to preserve all the things that make this such a wonderful place to live. So I just want to note the number of different people who were engaged with that. Eve, one of the things you began with a mention of transportation, and you know, I certainly agree with what you say there. I think you put your finger on the challenge when you say that in terms of the town and its structure and kind of logistics. You know, we have to be creative in thinking about what mass transportation systems will actually work. You don't want to be running empty vehicles around the town. That doesn't really help anybody at that point. So I think being creative and thoughtful about that, again, is the key. Certainly one of the things that is notable is that this pandemic is likely to have changed work patterns going forward into the future. It may well change computing patterns or traffic patterns in other ways. It may open up new opportunities, and technology keeps developing as well. So I certainly agree with your recommendation that this is something that we ought to be talking about. And if we can identify mutually beneficial solutions, it's a great area for collaboration. You mentioned in passing the whole cannabis issue, so I'll just mention it in passing as well. I'm grateful to those of you who are taking up the questions of implementation. I will say I am supportive of the idea of getting rid of the excessive criminalization that has existed in the past and that has done a lot of damage. The resulting regulations are very complicated, I would say, for us to implement as a university, for towns to implement. As you know, as a university, cannabis consumption is still illegal as a matter of state law after this, but there are all sorts of restrictions on our public safety officers and what they're supposed to do with that illegality. So I don't, again, I'll say here as before, I don't profess to have any great expertise, and just appreciate the good work that's being done by the talented people that you mentioned. With regard to the final matter, as I've said over and over again during this meeting, we are very appreciative of our relationship with this council as a governing body, with the town as a kind of a jurisdiction, and with just being part of the town of Princeton, which is a wonderful place to live and a wonderful place to be a student. So we are planning to continue to do lots of innovative projects in Princeton. One that I have to say I'm particularly excited about, which I do think will be a win for the town in very strong ways, as well as for the university, is Sir David Adjaye's redesign of the Princeton University Art Museum. I think that is going to be a lively space that adds to the joys of living in this town, and will also attract people to the town in very good ways. I appreciate everything you said, Eve. We do think at this point that the right way to plan is holistically, and I appreciate our neighbors in West Windsor as well. I think that there are solutions here that are win-win solutions that continue to have creative things happening in Princeton, and put other uses that may not fit so well in Princeton, but that may be very good fits on the other side of the lake, where we can build a little differently and take advantage of a different configuration. And I think it allows our towns and our communities to work together under those circumstances, and to recognize that regionally we're all part of a common ecosystem as well. Something that oddly enough, even as we've been forced apart by this pandemic, I think it forces us to recognize that too. But I am confident we will continue to do creative things here in Princeton, and appreciate the receptivity to that.
Wayne.
Thanks, Mayor. As this is my final year on council, and so this will be my last annual meeting where we get to sit with you, Chris. Just like to thank you and Kristen Applegate and the other members of the Princeton University team who have regularly interacted with the governing body. It's just been a real pleasure, and it's just frankly just a blessing to have such a great institution of higher education and research to share the same space with. University has certainly helped with the great minds at the university, it's certainly helped the town to be a leader and an example to other municipalities in New Jersey and to towns around the entire country, towns and cities around the entire country, about what makes a town a great place to live. So just wanted to take the time to thank all of you for that. And I look forward to all the wonderful things that the university will continue to do to make Princeton and the surrounding communities even better.
Dwayne, my thanks to you, and thank you for your service. And let me say in that vein too, I know this is a hard time to be a city council person and to be leading a town. There are lots of different pressures and lots of different demands, and I am really grateful, Dwayne, both to you personally, to you, Mark, for taking on the mayorship, and to this entire council for rising to these challenges and dealing with them patiently and with good judgment.
Thank you. Mia.
Well, thank you.
Well, one of the problems with going last is that everyone takes the things you plan to talk about. But I do want to say that even though it's an overused phrase, that stronger together really describes how we have approached the pandemic. And it's been an amazing partnership this past year. And it's hard to imagine more extreme circumstances. And the fact that we could partner so successfully under such difficult circumstances, I feel bodes well for less challenging circumstances. And I hope that that we'll continue to build on all of the the channels of communication and cooperation that we've developed in the past year that we've strengthened. I wanted to just touch on transportation as well, which I planned to mention. So we have been meeting, and also I want to thank Kristen, who has just been remarkable. I sometimes feel like she's another member of council because she's so helpful and such a resource. So we have been meeting with Kristen and with the members of the transportation department at the university. And I'm the liaison to the, I think we're called the Transit Advisory Committee. But we are, we were, just to be very specific, we were sort of waiting for you to make a decision about a new vendor in terms of who would be taking over. And we're glad that you are excited about your new partner. And we are really interested in building on that partnership. As you know, the town is at the cusp of moving from a sort of more suburban, single vehicle oriented transportation pattern towards a more, people in Princeton get scared when you use the word urban, but a more, should we say, connected form of transportation. And we, in the transit committee, we've met with VIA. We've looked at what they're doing in Jersey City. We are looking, we're working with, this year, we actually have 3 graduate students on our transit advisory committee who provided a tremendous amount of energy and dynamism to our planning. And we are working to try to incorporate, as Eve mentioned, all of our new affordable housing sites. But it really is the sort of equation that if the university is planning in a bubble and the town is planning in a bubble, it's going to be double the work for both of us and half the effectiveness. So we're really hoping to build on your relationship with your new transportation partner. And the way municipal law works, there are certain opportunities that are available to us just by virtue of your having already chosen them. So just as an FYI, we're looking forward to sort of, working with you together on that. The other thing I want to mention is planning. And I say that with some trepidation because my very first meeting that I witnessed with the town gown meeting was the year I was running for council, and you presented the university plan, and it was a very dramatic evening. But anyway, I'm going to bring up planning again at the risk of hopefully anyway. So we're starting with the redo of the long-awaited master plan, the town's master plan. It's almost 30 years out of date. It's going to be a lot of work. The university has stayed much more current and has a lot more experience with creating a master plan for the university. And it's really been a model, I would say, for me personally, to see how the university creates a plan and then actually makes all of the individual decisions based on that big picture plan. And I'm hoping that as a town, we can plan similarly in that way. So, as you know, the master plan is sort of the articulation of a community's vision and, reflects our values. And so it would really not be ideal if our master plan does not include the university. And since we are so integral, the success of the town, requires a close partnership. So I'm hoping that you can contribute in whatever way and participate in whatever way you would like. And you can think about it and let us know. But I think it's really important for the university to be at the table. We'll be doing, redoing the transportation element, the community facilities element, the whole thing. And so I think the university will be, it will be important for the university to have a input into all of these discussions, which no doubt will be challenging, lively, all those things that planning, that planning always is. But I just to give you a heads up that we this year, in fact, next week, the master plan subcommittee will be having our first meeting to get things off the ground. So we look forward to including you as a key partner in that process.
Thank you, Mia, for those comments. Let me first just reiterate what I had said earlier in response to Eve's question about transportation. I agree entirely that is an area where it makes great sense for the university and the town to be collaborating around what it is that we're doing. It sounds like there are good conversations already happening from what it is that you're describing. And from my standpoint, I expect that those will continue going forward. It's a difficult problem, as is planning, as you appreciate, and the conversations are always challenging, lively, but coming up with the right plan is also very rewarding and important to the future. The reason the conversations are challenging and lively, and I can't remember what adjective you used to describe the council meeting that you saw, but it surfaces the important questions that we ought to be discussing, and that process is worth having, even if it can be difficult at times. From our own standpoint, one of the things we found important to our planning process was just to make sure that it had the flexibility in it that was required for the future, that in some ways what it did was to create options within which we could work. And as you say, we have seized upon those options. It has helped to guide us without determining what it is that we do, and has enabled us to also respond to changing facts and information as they come, which, as you know, happens sort of shockingly rapidly after you complete a plan. So for us, that was one of the things that I think helped to maintain this as a lively endeavor. I very much appreciate your invitation, and I appreciate the way you put it. I think my colleagues and I should talk about what the best way is for us to be involved in that is productive, both from the university's perspective and from the towns. But to end where you began, I thought stronger together was a great theme. That's a good way of expressing, I think, what has kept us together over a long period of time, and what we have come to appreciate very self-consciously during this difficult period of the last year. So let's build on that and continue, and figuring out how to cooperate in the planning process is a part of that, as I hope will be many other ventures.
Thank you. David.
Yeah, I just want to follow up on the planning aspect. Mia and I like to joke that she's the pilot and she sees planning from 30,000 feet. And I am a little bit more detail oriented, and I like to want to be able to land the plane. So I want to mention a couple of specific areas that I think it's going to be very fruitful for us to be in dialogue for the plan, for the new master plan. And one is relating to the Butler Tract and our housing element for the fourth round of affordable housing. And the other is Lower Alexander, which I think relates closely to what Eve was talking about, finding opportunities to bring innovative projects into town. And I think both of those locations are places where we can help the university to make possible what you would like to do, and similarly have the university support our vision for those parts of town.
Well, so I appreciate that, and the metaphor. So that does take us closer to the ground. And of course, in planning, you get into particular plots of real estate, as you just did, David. So I understand the town's interest, and again, we'll look for the right way to participate in those conversations. I appreciate both their importance and their sensitivity. And so thank you for raising those. And As I said earlier, I think one of the things that processes are really helpful about are clarifying options as we go forward and making clear what the possibilities are as well as the choices. So I look forward to talking about those issues as well as others.
Thank you, Chris. Council, any other comments, questions you had? Chris, was there anything else you were hoping that we would have
No,
asked you
just to
about
say
or brought
thanks
up?
again. I do find I'm glad. I think the meetings that we've had together over the years were really helpful in making this year a partnership that I think from both sides felt very important and very good. So we've got to keep that going through the difficult times and the better times. And I sure hope that when we're meeting next time, it's not Zoom squares, but I'm actually seeing all of you in person, and I look forward to that.
Chris, thank you very much. We appreciate your time this evening.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me the time.
Thank you, Chris and Kristen
Take care.
Thank you.
and
Stay
Brent.
well.
And as I said at the beginning of the meeting, before we went to Mark's farewell tribute, there was a resolution added to the agenda, and I think that has been added after the agenda was published. So I think we should have a motion that resolution be added to the agenda. Eve?
I would move to add the resolution to the agenda. And
Thank you. Is there a
introduce
second?
it.
Michelle seconds. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay. That'll be towards the end of the meeting. I just wanted to make sure we covered that before we went any further. Just to back up a little bit, not that I'm encouraging any, but were there any announcements or reports that any council member felt they needed to make tonight? Dwayne?
I just wanted to mention for those of the public who have not heard yet, the recreation department regarding Hilltop Park and the turfing, the recreation department has basically come to at this point, because there's so many questions circulating regarding continuing work there. We've decided to just take a halt so we can take the time to debate at the commission level and all the different concerns that came up from the public, and to re-examine our plans there. So in short, we're currently just halting our progress there. We want the public to know that we're certainly listening to all the different concerns they have, and we want to make sure that we examine everything thoroughly before we commit any more municipal resources to that project. So certainly, stay tuned for what's going to happen in the future. But for now, we'll be discussing these things, of course, internally, but of course, at the Recreation Commission, the public is always welcome to attend and to let their voices be heard. And so that's where we are with the Hilltop turfing project.
All right, Dwayne, thank you for that. And I also think that realistically at our agenda setting meeting next week, that we'll probably talk about finding time on a not too distant council agenda to have that public discussion and address all the public questions and concerns, so we can put this thing, make a decision and decide what's going to be done. There's all kinds of implications. So anyway,
Absolutely.
we're all pretty much on the same page. Thank you.
Right.
Anyone else? If not, I'll move on. Okay, the next item on the agenda would be public comments for things not on the agenda. Does anyone attending, any of the public, have anything that they wanted to bring up that's not on the agenda this evening? Just
Mark, there was one public comment that came in, I think.
It was for Mark's farewell. It
Oh,
was
I'm sorry.
Jeff
Okay.
Floyd. It was.
oh, okay. I don't see any hands raised. Okay. Okay, so if we'll go to the resolution we added, resolution 21-126 is a resolution authorizing the mayor and council of Princeton to execute estoppel certificates in order to facilitate Nassau HKT Urban Renewal Associates LLC to refinance. And that was passed out to everyone also.
Maybe Mr. Mayor, I can just give a quick overview of why we do this. Back in the days when there was Borough Council, and I believe one other time after the merger of the two communities, we were required to do this. It's part of our redevelopment agreement with NHKT. And the action that the council is being asked to take tonight is just to certify that they are not in default in any areas with regards to their obligations to the community. And they are not in default. The wording of this was prepared in conjunction with NHKT and Ed Schmear's office and was reviewed today by Kevin McManaman's office. So I think we're on solid ground. It's pretty routine, although it's pretty lengthy process to get us to this point. So if there are questions, I'll attempt to answer them. Hopefully we can get this done to them so that they can move forward with their refinancing.
Right, because it was a time-sensitive issue for the.
Correct.
Yes. David.
Yeah, just a question. I haven't seen the redevelopment agreement for this project, but I'm curious to know if there's any provision in there that if their pro forma changes, because say they refinance with a more favorable rate, does it have any impact on the pilot payments that they make to the municipality?
Not as I recall, not directly. There are periods of time within the agreement that we have for formal renegotiation and formal increases. I believe that they came to council, if I recall correctly, sometime last year in the June timeframe to renegotiate one part of that agreement. So there are several times where they will come before us where we will have an opportunity to adjust it either by CPI increases or some other mechanism, whether it's their rental income or whatever it may be. There are certain stipulations that allow us to increase what they pay the municipality. But this is unrelated to that, David.
Okay.
Kevin, David, just so you know, we asked Kevin to take a look at it with that in mind.
Okay.
There's nothing at the moment that we can do, but we were thinking of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I recall, yeah, no,
Thanks for that, Mia.
Bob's correct. I think that we continued the pilot agreement at the same level that it was. We did that, like you said, June or July, mid-year last year, and during COVID, we didn't renegotiate it.
Thank you. Dwayne, did you have a comment? Sorry.
No, just thanking Mia for her research, excellent research on that.
Any other questions or comments? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
No,
We haven't introduced it. We just amended the agenda.
No, we just amended the agenda. You know
I
what?
would move to introduce.
That's an important detail that we should do.
I was about to say, good catch, Eve.
Well,
Come on.
D, I was like, wait, didn't we? And then D, so I knew I was on firm ground.
Thank you.
Okay.
Michelle, that was a
Good catch,
second.
Dolores.
Right?
Sure.
Moved and seconded, moved by Eve, seconded by Michelle. Now, just in case you changed your mind in the last 32 seconds, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's everyone. There's nothing else on the agenda if someone wants to move.
I actually have a comment.
Okay.
I would just like to welcome Dolores back and just let you know how wonderful it is to have you back. And we really missed you.
We did.
And please don't leave us again.
Thank you.
And we'll
I
try not to drive you nuts.
I try not to.
Don't make promises you can't keep.
I
Mia.
know.
We're glad you're feeling better.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nice to see you.
And just want to wish Mark a final so long. This is the last time you'll be on a council meeting, right?
So
So
true.
we'll miss you, Mark.
you're muted, Mark.
Muted. The one last time that you'll
This
be
is the final farewell, I guess.
But
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
don't smile so wildly.
He looks pretty happy.
yeah, but Mark, I wanted to mention, you know where the Zoom link is. If you want to visit our council meetings, you're welcome anytime. We'd love
I'll
to
be
see
there every
you.
time.
Yeah.
Spirit.
Thanks for your service, Mark.
Yeah,
And-
thank you
and,
so much.
Best
Thank
wishes
you,
in your
Mark.
retirement.
Please stay in touch.
Yeah.
Will do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is
Now I
there,
move to adjourn.
thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Yep.
Okay,
A lot of seconds.
a lot of seconds. All in favor, say aye.
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 Meeting's adjourned. Thank you all for your time.
Take care.
Thank
Thank you. Good
Bye-bye.
night.